Project-based learning is at an applied level, and whatever students have learned, whatever their understanding is, that's going to be the component where they actually then can apply the art side, the imagination side. And with a project, you never know exactly what's going to be created out of that. And I think as a teacher, or I really see my role more as a facilitator, is to take that understanding that they have, and then we simply enhance it through projects.
I think they've learned a lot about research skills and working independently, using their own initiative to guide the process. They've also learned a lot about teamwork, so while they're doing the independent aspect of it, they're collaborating and bringing pieces of their own work together to create a final project for the team.
The students have learned teamwork, and they have learned how to get everything together, how to use the computer in order to research.
We search it on the internet, find out what's all about it.
We looked a lot on the internet. We looked on the internet, and we called to the county and then they send us information about hotels and other things for a trip, maybe.
In our regular classes, of course, majority of our classes are lab settings. So everybody's sitting on their own and they're doing whatever this one needs to do and this one needs to do and this one needs to do, and they all think that they're all there in their own little worlds. So when we do project-based learning, we bring everybody collectively as a class. Everybody gets to feel part of a group, and so it helps with camaraderie in the classroom. It helps them feel more connected to the campus, and therefore I think our retention goes up for that reason, because it gives them something more exciting than just coming and sitting on their own and working or whatever. And it gives my instructors also a way to have to get more involved in the class, as opposed to having that standoffish kind of attitude sometimes.
Project-based learning can be a tool. It can be used with small groups, large groups. You can even pair people, and it's actually a way for the students to showcase what they can do.
The students are learning in a different fashion, but they are doing it in a group. It's much more collaborative. They have opportunity to learn from each other, and their skills grow at a greater rate, because doing projects gives them more things that are applicable to real life.
Learning a lot of different things about Transylvania. Like, for one, I didn't know they had a white squirrel count. It's basically counting how many squirrels are there, and they're really endangered. The white squirrels are endangered, and there's a lot of people using the white squirrels for fur and stuff that they don't need to be using. So actually it's a count just to see how many squirrels are in that town. So I learned a lot about squirrels.
Regular classes, it's mostly independent learning, and it's really about worksheets and finishing an assignment and doing something that was given to you as work by your teacher. This is really guided by the students. The project-based learning is really guided by the students. They choose the kind of result they want. Although there are guidelines, they choose the ultimate final product, and the collaboration gives them more of a voice and more control and more input into the process of learning.
I have one group for investigation. Everything is cooperation with the project.
We are talking about the different things about the Buncombe Colony.
A trip, the climate, the economy, the activities in the country. Yeah, I think that was all.
I think that the Buncombe County is the best place for the tourists in North Carolina. I think so, because Buncombe County has a beautiful place for the people to visit. The story is beautiful. The place and the food is very interesting.
And also they had a lot of different activities during the year. Asheville is close, it's in the mountain, so you can go different places. In the winter time it's nice, in the summertime it's nice. All the year I think it's very nice to be there.
When someone says project-based learning, I think of the interests of the students. So I listen to what they're doing in class, what they're talking to their friends about, what their interests are and what their needs are, and then I go from there. So I could do a project with a group of students, you know, in the fall, and then it could totally change the next fall when I have a new group of students, because it just depends on who the students are and what their needs are and what their interests are. I usually take those interests and I figure out what they need to learn. And I think about it in social studies and science and math and writing and reading, and I try to incorporate all of those different subject areas into one idea that I have.
Oh, God, look at my hips.
We talked about Da Vinci. And Da Vinci has an artwork that's called the Vitruvian Man, and the Vitruvian Man has body ratios that are like supposed to be the perfect person. The ratios of the arm span to the height and that kind of thing. We did scientific method, where we talked about making predictions, educated guesses, a hypothesis. So they are going to be predicting if they think that their ratios will be like the Vitruvian Man. We talked about Da Vinci, we talked about the Last Supper and the Mona Lisa, so we got some history involved in that with the artwork. We did, again, the body image, and we went over how to use a ruler, a tape measure, a yardstick. What you're seeing is that they are actually doing all of the measuring. They have tables that they're filling in. They're going to make the comparison as to whether their height to arm span ratio is either perfect with the Vitruvian Man or not. We talked about that there are other artists that have said, European artists that have said a lot of things about the face. So those are up on the board, so they'll be seeing if their face is like the European artwork that we've looked at. They're doing it in partners, and then they're going to present that at the end to see if their predictions were true.
We at Robinson Community College is getting ready to do the Census 2010, and we're having to collect material so we can teach our students about the census. And everyone is required to do it, and we're going to do the form, we're going to show them videos, and we're going to show them how to take a census form, because that's going to be very important for this year coming up. And so we're really learning how to use this in other areas at our school.
We recently wrapped up a project, and it was called Women Be Healthy, and it's out of UNC Chapel Hill, and the students are all women, and they're learning about how to talk to your doctor and breast cancer.
They're able to put their hands on the learning. This year, my two classes actually took field trips, and we were able to go to Forsyth County and tour Old Salem, both my class and the ESL class that's out there at the same location. And then we went and visited various locations at Moore County. We've had speakers come in. So they always tell me how they've learned to do research, how they're amazed at things that they didn't know about. I remember one group telling me, do you know there are books at the library you can't check out? And I said, those are reference books, but we want to take them home, and it's the library. And then after the fact, they said they had found out that they could go and research anything and find it, whether it was some kind of doctor needed for a particular problem with a child or a recipe.
Do
These are good. They taste like corn fritters instead of corn cakes. And see, I'm a country girl, so I eat corn fritters, so they taste a little bit like that.
I'm a country boy.
It tastes pretty good though. It actually tastes like cornbread fritters.
Or just a question for their studies. So they always come back and tell me what all they've learned. So we'll debrief on this on Monday, and they'll tell me the different things they've learned, and I'm always thrilled because these are things most of them as adults have not done before.
We had to do the process of elimination, basically. It's 2 people for 3 nights, 4 days. And we had to add up how many meals they was gonna be eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we had to add the prices of the hotel, the entertainment, and everything together to get the prices.
They were learning by doing on their own. It was not so much, here is the book, this is what we are learning today, but they were discovering, and it is not as much direct in terms of teaching. Collaborative work seems to me, for ESL students specifically, a much better way for them, because they can draw on all their own experiences as adults and put that together, and it does become much more of a collaborative classroom.
Once you get to actually meet the person that you're working with, this is like a collaboration a little bit, because we're collaborating with the county, because we've never been to the county before, so this is like a true collaboration.
This team, we are very excited, because we never was working in something like that. Tomorrow that I think for everybody first time, so.
Yeah, the other thing is because we are different countries. Because she's from Colombia, she's from Mexico, I am from Peru, and from Germany.
Different countries.
It's very interesting working together.
How was it to work as a team?
Very lovely. Aggravating at times, but it was lovely. Because we got everything done.
Yeah.
We're like a big family. We fight and argue, but at the end, everything was
done. We
done.
put it together.
I've learned how to work together in a group well. Usually I don't work good in a group. I usually just do individual work.
Embrace it. It is an awesome experience for the students and for the instructor. And if I had the money, that's how I would teach. We would get out and go and learn it. But we definitely bring in hands-on learning because I think it makes a real difference for them in the classroom.
When you're doing a project-based learning, make it fun. Just have a good time doing it. Get involved with the kids or students and just enjoy yourself. And they'll learn. Whether they know it or not, they're learning.
You definitely need to have an instructor that is very motivated and very much a go-getter that's going to stick in there and go and ask them questions and make them think broader and have them think outside the box, because a lot of them are in real-life situations. They have children, they have homes, they have families, and so when they come to school, they need to be taken out of that for a little while. And so you need somebody that's going to ask them questions and probe them and say, okay, what about this? And have you thought about this? And have you thought about that? So you just need somebody that's very engaging. You need a very engaging person to do it. But if you get the whole class engaged, they'll stay. Your retention numbers will go up, they'll make progress, and before you know it, everybody's got their GED and they're moving on to better things in life that they want to be doing.
With a project-based, at least how I do it in my class, I get each skill that the student is good at and let them bring that to the table. And that's the skill that they'll set at. And, you know, when you see it all come together, they get really happy about it.
This is the best way to teach a class that has many different levels, that they have many different experiences to draw from, because if you can take everyone's interests and their needs and have them work together on something, that they can actually be with somebody else that may have a little bit more knowledge than they do that can help them, but they may have more knowledge in something else that they can share. It makes them feel important. It's a lot of team building because they rely on each other. Depending on the project, they do leadership skills because sometimes there may need to be a leader. Or they may need for someone to do something and they'll have to ask, well, can you do this? So it's a lot of team building exercises within that. So they learn a lot of life skills just in communication and dealing with other people.
Sometimes you read a book and you can't understand, but when you do a project,
you learn from the project. You learn what you read and you go into it. I mean, you go over it, and next you know, you already know everything what you put in the project. So it's fun. I like it. I would like more. I would like to do it more often.